What's going on, YouTube? This is going to be a quick guide video on Super, the trait for set 8. I've been playing Super basically all day today and a little bit some other days for PBE, and I think it's honestly a really good trait if you're going to be playing something along the lines of rerolls. Now, the biggest thing with Supers is that the trait itself gives you 20% extra bonus damage, but when you get a 3-star unit, it gives you an extra 6% bonus damage on top of that. So at the end of the day, you realistically want to have as many 3 stars as possible, meaning that you're going to be rerolling the entire game constantly. Now, to give you like an idea of what units are Super and what they do, the units currently for Super are Gangplank, which is a duelist. It basically shoots a buckshot at somebody, dealing damage to them, and then you do a wound to them, making them so they basically just receive less healing. You've got Lee Sin as a 2 cost. It has Heart and Brawler. Now, its ability is basically something along the lines of you dash to somebody and shield them. Otherwise, you're basically shielding yourself, and then you do damage when you dash back. And then you got Malphite, which is a mascot. Malphite does damage, technically speaking, but realistically you won't use him as a damage dealer in most scenarios, hero emblems aside. And then he also gives himself some more armor. Now, I've got a couple different versions that you can run here. At the end of the day, it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Now, I think personally, my favorite for this so far is going to be Underground and Super. The reason being is that you end up with a pretty good set of units that work together well. You've got Kale for Gangplank. You've got Sona for Heart. You got Vi for Brawler, right? So they kind of synergize really well together, and they mesh and create a pretty good situation in which you want to reroll, right? You want to lose streak early with Underground. Most likely, if you're going to be looking for 1 and 2 costs, 3-star, you're going to be rerolling a lot and losing anyway, right? And so with this individual comp, you're usually going to want to itemize Gangplank. If you're going to have, mostly AP items, your Gangplank will be something along the lines of Jeweled Gauntlet plus damage items, maybe some healing as well in there with BT or Hodge. Kale is going to be mostly just attack speed, so whether it be Rage Blade, and Giant Slayer, Rage Blade Shiv, Giant Slayer, something of the sort. You basically just want Kale to sit in the backline and scale. And then for tanking with this comp, you're going to be looking at probably Lee Sin or Vi, mostly because they get extra health based on Brawler. Going vertical with this comp, you're going to usually want to add in either a Samir or Ezreal for Underground or something along the lines of threats, or you can maybe try to build off of what you already have. Maybe you want to put an Aegis, maybe you can go Recon, go something along the lines of that, right? That could potentially work. Kind of depends on what you're looking for. It also depends on what you hit and what items you have, right? The next one I played with on stream that I felt was pretty good, and this is going to be really dependent on what you get for admin traits, admin supers, right? So what I did in this game is I actually rolled for Camille's and Blitzcrank's early with Gangplank as a carry. Similar thought process though, where I inevitably, once I hit most of my 3s, I was able to then go for Soraka and run Soraka as the carry. And so it kind of worked out in the sense that I had then, I think like 50% extra damage given to Soraka with this scenario. Now, what admin traits are best? Depending on if you're going LeBlanc or Soraka carry, I would recommend something that either gives you more health for your front line in Blitzcrank or attack speed or AP. Primarily AP and health. Attack speed can work though if you're going to go something along the lines of I did Shojin on Soraka. And so Shojin Soraka gives you a little bit faster attack speed for more spells out. Blue buff, I think, would also in a similar vein work in the same way. I think I had one that gave me, it was like every 5 seconds I got 5% attack speed buff, something of the sort, right? Depending on what you're going though, either LeBlanc or Soraka, you're going to probably want Jeweled Gauntlet, a damage scaling item, whether it be Archangels. Again, Archangels is kind of iffy for some people this set, so you could maybe go Rabadon. And then I didn't necessarily dislike healing either if you go LeBlanc with something along the lines of Hextech Gunblade, just because you're kind of mostly a frontline comp with 1 damage dealer in this situation. Gangplank, Camille are kind of still damage dealers mid game. If you're going to go Soraka, though, you don't necessarily need the healing as much because Soraka gives healing to begin with. And so in this situation, I would probably recommend then going blue buff Shojin, maybe Shiv with Death Cap or Rabadon's. Giant Slayer's a good option, right? I think it kind of depends on what you're given, but usually spell, AP, right? AP, something to give you mana, and then cap it off with whatever's needed. Is someone playing a backline damage dealer, etc.? Then you can go off that. And kind of play around it. I think you usually want to hone in with 2 permanent uses and then one that might be a little bit more flexible, right? Depending on the lobby, depending on your items, you can kind of slam that and get it differently. And then the third one here was kind of a weird one for me. I started off with supers and then I got Riven as a hero augment. And in that situation, I kind of didn't know where to go, right? It was an odd setup. I already had basically Malphite, Lee Sin, and Gangplank 3. And all of a sudden now you're throwing a Riven. Well, I kind of figured now at this point, okay, we got to figure it out. I think at the end of the day, Vayne with Riven, and then a third is like a flex. I ended up going Nasus because of Mascot for Malphite, which I think worked out pretty well in that situation. You know, you remove these 2. You end up with then this kind of list. I ended up going, I think, Defender or Recon when I leveled up after, but this was the base. And allowed for Riven to basically just deal straight damage. So I went basically full attack speed on Vayne. Excuse me. Full attack speed on Vayne. I think it was like double Rage Blade and then a Giant Slayer or something of the sort. Because you scaled relatively quickly then. Because you already had pretty high DPS output. With the bonus damage that you were getting from your supers. Right. And so I think that's kind of what makes supers so interesting, though, is that it's kind of a splash comp that works with anything. If you remove all these other units, right? Let's say you don't go Anima Squad. This is what you're starting with. You can work with brawlers, you can work with duelists, heart, or mascot, right? And you can go vertical with any of those traits. You can make it work with any of those traits. And I think that's what kind of makes this comp start so interesting to me. It works best with something that's a 3 cost or lower for reroll as you're looking for a 1 and 2 costs, right? So you don't really want to go past level 6 or 7 if you're still looking for Lee Sin Malphite. In that situation, then, you know, Vayne is kind of like the upper limit of where you want to be. You can go for a 4 cost carry inevitably, right? If you have the right conditions to take a unit transitionally off the board or use remover, something like that, to give you your late game carry items off of your 3-star Gangplank or something, right? And I think that's kind of important to keep in mind too. Just because you have a Gangplank 3 doesn't mean you have to keep items on Gangplank 3 the entire game. He'll fall off eventually. If you have a remover, take him off, put him on another unit. If you can really heavily roll for these and hit them early, you're basically going to win streak and be able to just spam the level button, right? And if you're spamming the level button, you can kind of do whatever you want. And I think that's kind of what makes Super so interesting and so splashable, is it really kind of works with anything. Do you want to use Gadgetine because you've got heart bonus, and then try to make it work from there? You can. I don't think Gadgetine necessarily works the best because you don't have something to really give you brawler or anything of that sort, but it kind of works out for the most part. You can, if there's a will, there's a way in that sense, right? You can splash mech if you really wanted to with Jax, and Draven, and then, any other mech to give you it, with this still on the board, right? It's going to give you a huge damage increase on Draven, a huge damage increase on Jax, what have you. I think it's kind of an open book at that point. And so that's kind of what's nice. I had an Oxford game. Oxford. We're not going to college here, guys. An Oxforce game that I made it work pretty well with. I think it works out nicely in the sense that you've got a duelist, right, that you can work with. And after that, it kind of devolves into whatever you want to slam and whatever you want to place. Spats make this a lot more easy to flex and build into. You could do a lot of things with it. And I think that's what's great. I'm going to continue to try to throw some of these comps out there. I'll try to put these all individually in the description so you guys can look at them and kind of see where you'd go with it. I'll probably try to add some itemization as well on there. Outside of that, though, If you liked the video, please like, subscribe. If you have comments, questions, or anything else, drop them below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.